Hey guys, Zack here, and this is my review of Kaitou Joker. Okay, so this episode marks the end of the first season, and this episode actually reveals, fitting of the end of the first season, but this episode reveals a couple of major revelations that are going to be important going into the story going forward, but, yeah, I'll get into those one by one as we get through it. So, the episode actually opens up with, Silverheart infiltrating what's left of, Professor Clover's palace. Professor Clover's long since abandoned the palace itself, but Silverheart under Queen's prompting and information actually goes to investigate and discovers his old locket just sitting in the middle of the floor. At which point a monitor turns on with Professor Clover appearing on it, and Silverheart, believing it to be the actual Professor Clover, proceeds to pull out one of his cards and actually break it, but only for several more to actually just appear in its place. At which point, Professor Clover then greets Silverheart like an old friend and remarks that he's glad Silverheart has finally showed up, and then refers to him by what he knows him as, Agent Silver. At which point it then cuts to the actual episode proper, where Hachi and Roko are actually waiting for Queen and Joker to show up, and they're apparently very late. They're apparently there to steal something, but we don't actually find out what it is until later. But in case, all we know from the episode title card is that they're going to be stealing the treasure of Olympus, whatever that actually means. But in case they remark that, Hachi then proceeds to remark that he's a little surprised that he was expecting to see Joker there, but then to his surprise ran into Roko instead, and Roko then accurately deduces that they're likely after the same treasure if they both showed up at the same place. At which point Spade and Dark Eye show up. Note that Hachi and Roko are there, but neither of their respective, well, not masters, since in Roko's case he's a fully fledged partner, but discovers both Joker and Queen aren't actually there, and realizing that since Roko and Hachi are going to be enough to actually stop them from stealing the treasure, they decide to just kind of rush it and steal it themselves, and rush deeper into the monument where they are, with Hachi and Roko just kind of tailing after them. Later, we actually find out that Queen is actually winds up arriving, but believes that she's actually late. That Roko himself is actually late, even though he left before, and is a little visibly confused as to why he's not there, and even has time to kind of mess with her hair, remarking that her bangs seem a little bit long and probably need to be cut. At which point, she sees what she initially believes to be Joker show up on a motorcycle, and she admits that that's actually pretty impressive. But then she discovers that it actually is Shadow Joker who's actually driving the vehicle after getting a better look at him. And obviously Shadow Joker remarks that it's been a long time since he's actually seen Queen, and remarks that he's happy that she's alone because it'll make it easier for him to take her out, and proceeds to pull out his umbrella and actually fire at her. But Joker merely deflects the blast. The real Joker actually shows up and actually deflects the blast against it, and demands to know why Shadow Joker is even there at all. But at which point Shadow Joker remarks that he doesn't have to tell him anything, and remarks that he'll be stealing the treasure for himself, and proceeds to run deeper into the stone labyrinth where they are. With Queen and Joker obviously chasing after him and trying to keep close tail on him, but he does eventually escape, and they're unable to actually find him, and they eventually walk into a large room with Queen and Joker deciding to actually figure out what it is that Shadow's deal actually is. Obviously Queen asks Joker if he knows him at all, and why he has a personal vendetta against Joker, but Joker merely remarks that he has no idea, because by his own admission, he's pissed off a lot of people. So he doesn't really know why one particular person might be mad at him. And Queen merely remarks that that's fair. At which point Joker asks her if she knows anything about him, since obviously they worked with Professor Clover for quite a while, and obviously they're co-workers, or at least former co-workers. But Queen really points out that Shadow never really talked about his past, like, at all. Or any of his deeper motivations, and they never really spoke, so she has no idea what Shadow Joker's deal might be. But In any case, these thoughts are actually interrupted when they actually hear screaming and a loud growling noise coming from deeper in the labyrinth. And initially, Queen and Joker kind of jump out of their skin because they have no idea what it is. And Joker even yells at Queen to stop scaring him. But after hearing Hachi, what he believes to be Hachi's voice coming from deeper in the maze, he decides to actually run deep in after them, with Queen chasing after close behind. And they eventually do wind up in the main heart of the labyrinth, where they discover a bunch of stone statues, which kind of creeps her out a little bit. And Queen even remarks that it's a little bit creepy, but he merely remarks that they're likely just statues, and eventually discovers Spade. And goes to greet him, but discovers that Spade is a statue as well, which freaks Joker the hell out, and he has no idea what's going on. And obviously, Queen asks a very smart question of when she discovers that the rest of their friends have been turned to statues as well, as to why they're all suddenly statues. And Joker merely points out that the legend of Medusa, explaining how there's this legendary monster that was able to turn people to stone by looking at them. And while he doesn't fully understand that legend is true, it seems to fit since they're in the place where the legend first originated. And he's not entirely, but although Joker once again remarks that he's not entirely sure if it is indeed an actual true story, but the fact that his friends have actually turned to statues may indicate that it might be. So he has no idea what to believe anymore. At which point they see a little girl crying behind a pillar, and obviously Joker and Queen actually go to comfort her, but then the little girl actually remarks that if they have any sort of mirror, that they should give it to her, which they remark is a little bit odd. But Queen pulls out her compactor and actually gives it to the little girl, but with Shadow Joker actually running in and warning them too late not to give the girl their mirror, which then reveals that the girl is actually Medusa, and in the process, the Phantom Thieves find out that Medusa is actually real. So yeah, unfortunately, there's no image on the wiki. I looked it up, but in any case, if you know what Medusa looks like, you kind of know the story and know what she generally looks like. Most people probably do, but in any case, Medusa then proceeds to gloat about the fact that now that she has the mirror, there's nothing that they can do to stop her from defeating them, and proceeds to use her abilities to turn them all to stone, to try and turn them all to stone. Joker and Shadow Joker wind up shielding their eyes and protecting himself, but Queen realizes too late what's going on and actually winds up turning to stone, and with that, Shadow Joker quickly realizes that they'll need to do something if they want to get Medusa away from them. So Shadow Joker pulls out his umbrella weapon and shoots at Medusa, which causes her to drop the compactor and run off. At which point, Joker kind of laments the fact that Queen was actually turned into a statue and tries to see if he can turn her back to normal. But in the process, he accidentally winds up dropping her, and one of her pigtails breaks off. So he decides to just kind of pick her back up and clean her up, and decides to leave well enough alone. And even remarks that she's just barely safe, which Shadow Joker remarks she isn't, because obviously a piece of her broke off. But in any case, Shadow Joker then proceeds to pick up the compactor and remarks that he's going to go defeat Medusa, and that the Joker can actually do whatever he wants. He's just going to go after the treasure himself, and proceeds to run deeper in the labyrinth with Joker actually tailing closely behind. At which point we then proceed to cut back to Professor Clover's lair, where we actually find out a little bit more about what Professor Clover's plans are. And more accurately, his connection to Silverheart. As we find out, Professor Silverheart then demands to know what Professor Clover is planning, and Professor Clover explains what he's actually planning to do, which is that he's going to steal something that no Phantom Thief has ever stolen before. He's going to use time itself, as he explains. He's going to use time itself to actually steal treasures lost to the flow of time. So he's and points out that Silverheart and his apprentices are actually in his way, so he needs to eliminate them. At which point he then realizes that Professor Clover isn't the same person from long ago, and we then get a flashback where it's revealed that Silverheart and Professor Clover knew each other a long time ago. And that Professor Clover used to go by Agent Clover, similar to how Silverheart used to go by Agent Silver. And it's also revealed that it's not explicitly stated what happened, but whatever did happen between the two was the reason why Professor Clover is actually missing a hand. Whatever happened to Professor Clover and whatever Silverheart's involvement it was in it resulted in Professor Clover losing a hand and having to build a new one. Professor Clover even explains that his hand serves as a permanent reminder as to what he's lost and why Silverheart will forever be his arch nemesis. But then proceeds to point out that that right now Silverheart has bigger fish to fry, pointing out that his apprentices are currently in danger and that pretty soon they'll actually be dealt with and be destroyed. And with that, he then proceeds to actually activate the self-destruct sequence in his base, which Silverheart only narrowly escapes. And realizing what Professor Clover said was likely true, realizes that his apprentices are likely in danger, and realizing that and remembering that he knows where they are, proceeds to actually go and try and rescue him. And he does, and he winds up, and he kind of does. Well, I'll get to that in a minute. But in the process, Shadow Joker and Joker are actually running through the rest of the labyrinth, and they eventually come across a bridge that's suspended over a bunch of lava, and they wind up wrestling over Queen's compactor, and Joker does eventually manage to get it away from him, but then Medusa actually shows up and tries to face off against them, like, once again trying to turn them to stone, but which fails because they actually wind up shielding their eyes again. But in the process, Medusa actually winds up punching a hole in the bridge, which causes both of them to fall through. They do wind up using both of their respective Phantom Thief tools to get themselves to safe, but they wind up landing on the same rock and actually wind up dropping the Queen's compactor into the lava below. So they no longer have a weapon to actually face off against Medusa anymore. At which point they eventually climb back up onto the bridge and proceed to run deeper into the labyrinth and try to get to safety, and eventually find the vault where the storage actually is, and proceed to try and open it, with them not realizing initially that they're supposed to press the buttons together to actually get the vault to open. And eventually, once they do realize it, they do manage to get into the vault. Medusa's about to close in on them, but she then hears Silverheart deeper inside the labyrinth and proceeds to go and investigate. And then, as we find out, Silverheart actually winds up arriving in the labyrinth, discovers that all of his apprentices, sans Joker, are actually frozen and turned to stone. So, when he notices that Queen is actually a statue as well, he starts bawling and tries to comfort her and put her back together. But in the process, he accidentally winds up dropping her again and breaks off her other pigtail. And he tries to pick her up, but then his trick back comes into play, and he winds up hurting himself and winds up stumbling away from Queen, and in the process knocks Spade over and breaks his little crown thing that he has on his head. Which Spade remarks is probably a problem, but he starts panicking and remarks that, but then repeats what Joker said earlier about how they're just barely safe. But then Medusa shows up and quickly realizes that Silverheart is actually another intruder in her labyrinth, and proceeds to try and turn him to stone. Silverheart tries to shield his eyes, but his trick back comes into play, and he winds up being turned to stone anyway. And with Medusa now satisfied about the fact that that neither of them are actually that Silverheart has now been dealt with, she then proceeds to go back and deal with deal with Joker and Shadow Joker, and with that she leaves, unaware that what she actually paralyzed was actually one of Silverheart's image gum inventions that he made, and he blew it up like a balloon ahead of time, which pops, and then it's revealed that he's actually fine, and they actually just hid behind a pillar or something. So he's completely fine, but quickly realizes that now he needs to actually find a way to actually get to Joker and Shadow Joker, and proceeds to go deeper into the labyrinth. And I'll get to that in a minute as well, because that actually winds up being not important, but winds up being kind of a really funny thing that happens. But in any case, with Joker and Shadow Joker now safely in the vault, they quickly realize that now they found the treasure of Olympus, but quickly realize that they need to deal with Medusa, or they're not going to be able to get any of the treasure out of the vault. But Shadow Joker merely remarks that he's only going to do his own thing and not going to work with him, points out that he's not going to regardless of whether Joker gets the treasure or not, he's going to defeat them and destroy him one day. But which Joker merely wonders once again remarks why Shadow is so angry with him, and Shadow merely remarks that once again that he's the shadow that paints over the light that is him. Which winds up giving Joker an idea, because as mentioned, there aren't any other mirrors in the past, because obviously Medusa actually destroyed them. So Joker has to come up with another idea to actually defeat her. And sure enough, when Medusa actually winds up coming back, inexplicably, Joker is standing in front of a mirror. Which she points out shouldn't be possible, since as again she destroyed all the mirrors in the immediate vicinity, so there shouldn't be anything they can use to actually defeat her. But Joker merely remarks that now he has a mirror, that they're no longer going to be able to be vulnerable to her paralysis trick. But she remarks that she still has a few tricks up her sleeve, and actually summons a bow and arrow and starts shooting it at them, which they wind up deflecting with which Joker winds up deflecting with his cards. But which Medusa remarks is very cheeky, and points out that no human has actually given her this much trouble, but then notes that the fire actually isn't reflected in the mirror, and concludes that it is indeed a fake, which Joker then remarks that it seems like the jig is up. At which point we actually get an explanation from Silverheart explaining how the mirror that Joker found is actually not a mirror, but a mirror made from image gum, and then also he gave Shadow Joker a piece to make him a mirror image of Joker, so that they can pretend to be a mirror without actually being a mirror. And quickly realizing that they have nothing left, Joker then proceeds to vault over the mirror that they made, while Shadow Joker returns back to normal, and proceed to do their final face-off against Medusa, who is currently closing in on them, and quickly realizes that quickly tries to actually turn them back to stone, pointing out that now that she's seen through the trick, they actually have no way of actually defeating her. But then it's revealed. But then both of them actually smile, and they reveal that she's actually the one who fell into their trap, hook, line, and sinker. At which point it's revealed that, and if you guys remember, at this point it's revealed that that in addition to creating a fake mirror, they also used image gum to cover up the hole that Medusa made in the bridge, and she winds up going through it. But she does wind up catching herself, but she quickly realizes that now she's falling through the hole and has no real way of getting herself back up, and quickly realizing she's out of options, she tries once again to turn Joker and Shadow Joker to stone, but Joker merely uses his straight flash to actually blind her, which causes her to let go of the hole and fall through it. But on the way down, she remarks that she's not going to let them have the treasure, and that she will indeed get it back. And they're not getting the treasure so long, even if she's gone. But with that, she actually winds up melting, and in the process of her falling through the hole, the little bead on her necklace actually winds up popping off and winds up landing on the bridge, which Shadow winds up picking up. And once he picks it up, he actually mutters the name Rose under his breath, which confuses Joker, and he has no idea what Shadow's actually talking about. But to this point, where the entire building that they're in actually winds up collapsing, and to make matters worse, the treasure is destroyed. And Shadow accurately surmises that even though Medusa's dead, she's going to try and take the treasure with her, and remarks that Joker better get out while he has the chance, and proceeds to actually head off on his lonesome, and disappears. But in any case, Joker then proceeds to return back to the main labyrinth, where all of his friends are actually revealed to be alive and well. And also, they don't initially realize that their hair is all messed up, because obviously it's a very high tense situation. Obviously, they haven't noticed that their hair is a mess. Even though Dark Eye, Rocco, and Hachi actually pointed out and tried to actually point out that their hair, that pieces of their hair are just kind of missing. But in case Joker runs in and remarks that they need to get out of there as quickly as possible, and that they need to find the exit. But as they're running, they actually found out that most of the exits are actually wind up being sealed off because debris is falling in front of them, and they quickly realize that they're not going to be able to find an exit until Silverheart just kind of comes running out of nowhere. And it's revealed during his information corner they actually wound up getting lost, and in the process he actually winds up finding the exit by complete accident. He winds up finding the exit by complete accident, and he even tries to deny that fact when he's actually confronted about it later. But in case they then proceed to wonder. But once they're safely outside the monument, they then proceed to wonder what actually happened to Shadow Joker, and Queen wonders if he actually got stuck in the labyrinth. But Shadow Joker's motorcycle then roars to life, and he remarks that he would never do something so careless. At which point, Silverheart, now finally face to face with Shadow Joker, asks him who he is and why he has such a beef with the Phantom Thieves. But Shadow Joker doesn't actually answer his question and just drives off. And Silverheart then points out that they'll likely encounter him again, and that if he's continuing to work with Professor Clover, and that he'll have to save their questions for next time. But it's at this point where the rest of the Phantom Thieves wonder how he actually knew how to get out, and as I said, he didn't actually know the way out. He just got completely lucky. So he then proceeds to just kind of play off about the fact that he made a miracle happen, which in this case is completely true. It was a complete miracle. He actually found the exit. But Hachi and the other Phantom Thieves merely just praise him, pointing out that he's that he actually is kind of brilliant and kind of above the rest. But and that's where their story kind of ends. But it's at this point where Shadow Joker actually returns back to Professor Clover's base, which is revealed to have been moved to underneath the sea. And he goes to and Shadow Joker actually brings back the jewel that he retrieved from Medusa and brings it back to Professor Clover and Professor Clover then proceeds to put it in his staff, which is obviously Clover shaped. But he then remarks that they now have that they not only need two of those orbs as well, and while Professor Clover is happy about the fact that Shadow Joker brought him back one of the orbs that he needs, he also remarks that Shadow Joker failed to kill the Phantom Thieves, and Shadow Joker points out that he knows and that he'll do it next time, with Professor Clover pointing out that that's really the only reason he keeps him around and keeps him alive. But Shadow Joker really reiterates that they will deal with them next time, and that he will eventually destroy them by his own hand. At which point he goes to actually go deeper in the Professor Clover's facility, and opens a locket to reveal a girl that is heavily implied to be Rose. And he remarks that he tells the picture to wait for him because one day he will save her. So at which point, and so in any case, yeah, there's some interesting things there, but I'll get to that in a minute. But in any case, now that they've actually dealt with Shadow Joker and Medusa, they're now back in the Road Joker or the Sky Joker, and Silverheart is contemplating over everything that happened, and at which point Joker actually walks out, and he tells him about his involvement with Professor Clover, and that his past has come back to haunt him, and points out that he didn't mean to drag any of his apprentices into it, and he's hopes that they'll actually forgive him for dragging them into a personal hate feud that they had nothing to do with. But Joker merely responds to that by pointing out that he's a Phantom Thief, and that regardless of whether or not Professor Clover is in their way or not, he will continue to steal treasure, and that he will continue to be one of the greatest Phantom Thieves the world has ever known, which makes Silverheart smile. At which point Queen and Spade finally figure out what happened to their hair. They're actually going to go clean themselves up, and with the rest of the sidekicks actually following after them, pointing out that they still hasn't noticed. At which point Spade points out that Queen's hair is actually messed up and she looks kind of funny. And the Queen returns the sentiment back at him, but then they realize why they both said that to each other and proceed to go look in the mirror, and after noticing that their hair's all messed up, they proceed to go out and confront Joker over it. And while Joker admits to the fact that he broke Queen's hair, he has no idea what actually wound up happening to Spade. And obviously Silverheart just kind of plays off of the fact that he didn't do anything, and Joker just kind of winds up taking the rap for that as well, and they proceed to chase him around the deck of the Air Joker before Joker blows up one of his air balloons and winds up flying off. And that's where season 1 ends. Also, there's a promo for season 2 and how they aired the original season as a rerun, but that's not important in the story because that happens after the fact. So I didn't wind up seeing this show when it was live. So yeah, that doesn't really pertain to us at all. But it is interesting that is indeed part of the episode, and I do like that they actually wrote in the promotional stuff for that. That's kind of funny, but. I mean, it kind of dates it a little bit, because obviously this show is no longer live, but mostly on DVD now. But in any case, there is a couple of things to unpack with that. First and foremost is Silverheart and Professor Clover's background and how they actually grew to hate one another and wanted to becoming mortal enemies. And there is something interesting there, and I am interested to see how that's actually going to play out. And also, we do finally find out what Professor Clover's main goal is, which is to not so much steal time, but steal all the treasures that have been lost to time, which makes a bit more sense. He's going to try and do some time travel shenanigans. That's why he's looking into so many different time-related treasures. He's trying to use the power of time itself to actually maybe steal some treasures that have been lost to the ages. And presumably he needs the various jewels that Shadow Joker is stealing for him to do that. So yeah, eventually that is going to come to a head as well. But what is more interesting is how Shadow Joker plays into all that, because obviously, and according to Shadow Joker, I'm not sure who Rose is, possibly his sister or lover or something, but point being, Rose, for whatever reason, something seems to have happened to her, and I'm not entirely sure what. If I had to guess, Professor Clover was likely involved in somewhat, because obviously Joker has no idea who Shadow Joker is, but Shadow Joker seems to have some sort of deep-seated hatred for Joker, despite the two having apparently never met. And we know that Rose is no longer in Shadow Joker's life for whatever reason. So me thinks he thinks that that Joker had something to do with his sister or lover's disappearance. I have no idea, but it is a little bit interesting that he seems to blame Joker for that. And I'm just going to call it now. I have the feeling that Professor Clover probably did something, considering that he did something with Queen's life as well and messed her up. So yeah. Obviously, Professor Clover, Professor Clover isn't the most trustworthy guy, so obviously, he's most likely lying about what actually happened to Shadow Joker's either sister or lover. Again, I don't know, but it's clear that something happened to her, and Professor Clover likely has something to do with it, because he has a track record of doing that. He's messed up Queen's life, he's messed up Joker's life, and possibly he's messed up Spade's life as well. We have no idea. We don't know Spade's backstory yet. But all we know is that he lived with Silverheart for a number of years, and it's possible that something may have happened. But in any case, I am interested to see where that actually is going to go for season 2. But for right now, I think I'm gonna leave this episode here and leave this review here. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, be sure to follow me on Twitter in the description below. Be sure to check out my Patreon in the description below as well if you want to help support the show. It's only a couple bucks a month. It does really help me out. And you guys get access to a bunch of cool perks. I'm obviously saying thanks. So just be sure to go check this out. Link is down in the description. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. And just check out the videos linked in the end screen as well. Just be sure to just check those out. Top one's the most recent one, whereas the bottom one is based on what you've already seen. So just go check those out. But in any case, thank you guys so much for watching. And until next time, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace!